Hello, everyone. We're so excited to have you join us today for Origin and Cause's fourth annual national tour. My name is George Costandi, and I will be the moderator today. Every October for the past few years, we've been fortunate to travel all across the country from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC, to meet you face to face and to offer you some technical training and have an opportunity to shake your hand and thank you for your business. This year, not too many people are shaking hands, are they? And also with the travel restrictions due to COVID-19, we decided we'd try a virtual event instead. So sit back, relax, take notes, and welcome to Origin and Cause's National Tour Virtual Edition. Before we kick off the presentation, I wanted to spend a minute giving you an overview of Origin and Cause's services and background. Origin and Cause was established over 30 years ago. We're the largest forensic engineering and fire investigation firm in the country with 17 locations and over 40 forensic experts. You can see there on the map, we go all the way from Nova Scotia, servicing Nova Scotia all the way to BC. And you can see a list of all of our offices. We provide services across all major engineering disciplines, including fire and explosion investigation, structural engineering, materials and metallurgical engineering, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, forensic litigation services, and drone services. Forensic engineering is a fascinating field, and we're constantly writing articles and creating content about things we're encountering in the field that our clients seem to really enjoy reading. We're really passionate about sharing our knowledge with you all, so be sure to check out the training tab that's on our website to view our articles, webinars, and other training materials that we create. History has shown that in times of economic hardship and high unemployment rates, instances of insurance fraud increase dramatically, and the current global recession is no exception. Our own observations in the field and the conversations with insurers support this narrative, and we've seen an increasing number of suspicious claims in the past few months that represent a growing problem for insurers. So with that said, today's presentations will be focused on the investigation of suspicious claims involving break and enters, water claims, structure fire claims, vehicle claims, and structural damage claims. We'll be covering critical steps in the investigative process, as well as tips to help adjusters, lawyers, and risk managers identify and manage insurance fraud. We have an engaging mix of experts, including engineers, lawyers, fire and explosion experts, and large loss adjusters, with the goal to address the topic from all angles. And we'll be presenting for most of the hour and giving attendees a break between each presentation. With all that's going on this year, Origin and Cause has decided to give back to the community by donating $25 on behalf of every attendee that joins us today. The charities that we've selected are all national charities. The first is the Canadian Burn Survivors Community, which is a community comprised of burn survivors, firefighters, burn unit staff, and advisors who have come together to offer support and education to anyone that has been affected by burns. The second charity is Disaster Aid Canada, who provides and assists in delivering humanitarian aid, shelter, sustainable water systems, and hygiene products to people affected by natural and other disasters. And the third charity that we are supporting today is the Breakfast Club Canada, who serves more than 250,000 nutritious breakfasts daily in over 1,800 schools throughout Canada, making sure children have an equal chance to learn. Based on our current registration numbers, we expect to donate over $20,000 to these charities combined. We're honored to make this donation on your behalf and appreciate you coming out. Let's jump right into the first presentation. The first presentation is on break and enter investigations. We'll be doing a live Q&A at the end of every session, so please feel free to submit questions via the text box under the webinar. In the webinar screen. It's actually right over here. You just input the questions that you have, and we'll try to get to as many questions as possible within the Q&A period, and all questions will be addressed anonymously. We'll be sending each of you a completion certificate in a follow-up email next week. And if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please feel free to email the team at webinar@origin-and-cause.com. All right, let's get started. I'd like to introduce our first speaker today. Today we have Mazen Abash joining us. Mazen is the president of Origin and Cause with over 30 years of industry experience and over 3,500 forensic investigations under his belt. His specialties include fires and explosions, electrical failures and malfunctions, product liability claims, alarm system investigations, and security camera video extraction. Without further ado, please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mazen Abash.
Thank you, George. Good morning and good afternoon, Atlantic Canada. Hope you and your families are all well. Thank you for tuning in. So let's get started. I'm going to be talking about break and enters and the investigations that we conduct resulting from B&Es. Now, there are legitimate cases of B&Es, and of course, there are fraudulent ones. One needs to investigate these instances to confirm which ones you are dealing with. So before we get into the meat of things, let's just go over quickly why B&Es happen. So pretty obvious. I mean, the first one is B&Es happen so someone can burglarize a place, so for the purposes of theft. Another one, of course, is to allow someone to set fire to a place. So someone breaking in and setting fire to a building. And then vandalism. So that reminds me of a high school that was broken into. Fire hoses pulled out of their cabinets and the water turned on, resulting in a sizable water claim. Or another commercial property that was broken into and the place ransacked. Another reason is, of course, insurance fraud. So someone setting up the appearance of a B&E for insurance fraud purposes. And then you have the possibility of someone trying to hide a crime, such as an accountant who is skimming profits from his company and an audit was about to be commenced. The accountant went in and set fire to records, accounting records, of course, and his computer. I guess he knew the jig was up. Okay, the other thing is, why do we attempt to get information from an alarm system or extract information from video equipment? So an alarm system, for example, could provide you with information regarding the timing of an incident, at the very least. So an alarm system might show general trends of operation of a business, or how the property is typically protected when vacant, or who typically has access to that premise. On the other hand, video equipment, CCTV, could provide background information on the operation of the business. Some more sophisticated CCTV equipment can be tied to a point of sale system. These are better known as video and transaction matching. Systems this sophisticated allow point of sales transactions to be automatically matched with surveillance video. So essentially, the surveillance video is bookmarked at the time when an event or a transaction occurred, say at a cash register. This could be an additional avenue for you in your adjusting of claims, including obtaining sales records for the business matched up with real video images. So I think that's kind of cool with this new kind of technology. So here is a screenshot of what a point of sale system matched to a video equipment would look like. You can see in the screen that it's showing a cash register of a fast food outlet. You can actually see people at the cash. It'll actually tell you what was purchased and how it was paid for, whether it was paid for by cash or credit card or debit card. So a wealth of knowledge that you can use. An alarm system and video footage could assist with information relating to who, how, and of course, when someone entered the building. An alarm system could also provide information that may confirm coverage under a policy. I think that's pretty important. And both alarm and video systems could corroborate that an incident indeed did take place. So as an example, if an alarm system shows no activity and the videos show nothing happening either inside or outside of the building, that could put into doubt that an incident actually did take place. unless, of course, there's a reasonable explanation for all this. So let's talk about where do we find video evidence, for example. So video equipment in and along the outside of a building, that's the general typical way that we can find video information, or next door. So the next door building might have its own video equipment. And in some instances, if it's along the outside, might be pointing to the building that you're concerned with. What about doorbell cameras across the road from a house? A lot of people these days have these doorbell cameras installed at their front entrances, and they're pointing out, possibly across the street, to the incident premise that you're concerned with. What about dash cams? You may think this might be an odd suggestion, since dash cams usually are operating when a car is in motion. However, some will also continue to record while the car is parked, say across the road from an incident location. You never know what you could find if you only ask the neighbor about their dash cams. And finally, of course, cell phone video, social media, YouTube, and other media outlets could be a wealth of knowledge for us as well. Okay, let's talk about just general red flags relating to alarm systems and video systems. So, landlines can be cut outside or inside the building. These are phone lines that are used for the alarm system to communicate with a remote monitoring station. So it's important to spend some time to investigate, because that will usually tell you the story, whether these landlines were cut or not. Cell services utilized by alarm systems can also be jammed with a jamming device. So here is an example of a jamming device right in your screen. These devices are cheap and readily available for purchase. Again, spending time to investigate this possibility may be helpful to you in dealing with your claim. What about placing or piling contents up against motion detectors so that they are ineffective in detecting the presence of someone or motion around their area of protection? Maybe a case of unusually placing floor-to-ceiling product in front of a motion detector so it can't operate as it should. This can be done before the incident happens. Again, is this a setup? Or door contacts defeated so that the door can be opened without triggering an alarm system. Or possibly zones bypassed so that the presence of someone in these zone areas for an alarm system, and when the alarm system is armed, is not going to trigger an alarm. Again, you need to look into that, because telltale signs can be found to suggest that zones have been bypassed, say a day or two before an incident. Or suggestion of someone breaking into the property and rushing to the location of an alarm panel to smash the alarm panel off the wall and essentially defeat its operation before the entry delay sequence of the alarm system has elapsed. This will prevent the alarm panel from communicating with the monitoring station. By the way, for the most part, entry delay sequences are set for anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute, sometimes a little longer, but certainly it is a tight time frame. So questions need to be asked. How is the location of the alarm panel known to the perpetrator in the event that someone can actually break into a premise and rush to the alarm panel and rip it off the wall, for example, or cut lines to the actual alarm panel? Did they have inside information? Is it reasonable for those unfamiliar with the property to break in and even make it to the location of the alarm panel in time to have it physically neutralized before it sends out signals? Or did the perpetrators use a legitimate access code for the alarm system to gain entry? Did they disarm the alarm system? And if so, how did they get access to the access code? Are there other reasons why someone committing a smash and grab can avoid the alarm system activating? Is there a deficiency in the alarm system? For you, the adjuster, could this be a subrogation potential for you to consider? These possibilities can only be confirmed if time is taken to investigate the alarm system following the incident, assuming, of course, that the alarm panel is left behind by those gaining entry. On occasion, the alarm panel is removed from the building during the break-in. So the question needs to be asked, why? Was the alarm panel taken away to avoid being the subject of an investigation? Same goes for removing of a digital video recorder or a network video recorder during a break-in? The information where the video images are stored. Is it a way of hiding who may have perpetrated the incident? So I'm going to show you a video of a smash and grab incident. And the interesting part is how little time there is for the alarm to go off while people are still in the actual premise. So let's run it. Look how quickly it is to actually make their way into the store. So there's several people coming in. So in this case, the actual alarm system was set for a 30-second time delay entry. And now the actual alarm triggers and goes off. So if you just consider how little time they had, would it be possible for these perpetrators to actually go into the property and get access to the alarm panel and rip it off the wall? I would suggest probably not. So again, if an alarm panel is ripped off the wall, the question that needs to be asked is, how did they know where it is and how did they have enough time to do so? Okay, another red flag is people who weave stories. So as an example, an alarm company getting phone calls about an alarm system not working in the days leading up to a break and enter. Was this just a setup? Or was it a genuine concern at that time? Perhaps a further investigation is required that may allow for subrogation potential against the alarm company to be assessed. Can you confirm coverage on the policy relating to the alarm warranty? Again, it's a question of what kind of stories are being weaved. Same thing for when someone complains about security cameras not working and therefore being turned off, or the digital video recorder not running or operational. Should you look further into this? Or what about someone saying that they don't use their equipment to record videos, but only to watch on a screen? I've heard that several times where someone says that, they typically use these security cameras just to watch employees, but never actually do the recording. Kind of odd since they actually have that equipment to record. Okay, what I'm going to do is work through two case studies now. One is a personal lines fire incident. This is a large house, and I'll give you some of the background information relating to the actual fire incident. The fire was discovered on August 27, 2009 at approximately 2 p.m. The owners with daughter left for Niagara Falls at 11:30 a.m. The son-in-law stayed at the house, but had also left at 10:45 a.m., so earlier than the owners and their daughter. The house was reportedly locked and secured. An alarm system was installed in the house, but was not running or set. There was video equipment installed, but apparently they claim not functional. The DVR was thought to have not yet been set up by the company installing the video equipment. The son-in-law states that he would typically use the cameras to watch the front door when someone rings the doorbell. So he would kind of lay in bed. If someone rang the doorbell, he would turn his TV on and see who's at the door. During a discussion with the son-in-law, he indicated that he had issues with some people in the past. Again, is this a matter of setting up a story relating to the incident itself? So we were able to obtain authorization to enter the scene and conduct an investigation. So this is a photograph of the front door. You can see that in the front hallway, with the stairs leading up to the second level, there is evidence of substantial fire damage. Here is a photograph of this front door, and you can see that there is some physical evidence of the door having been kicked in. Okay, this is a photograph of a portion of the house. So we brought in our K9 unit and we had 2 dogs do searches inside the home. We searched the basement, the main level, and the second level, so on all 3 levels of the home. There were several areas of origin, and our dogs both hit on several areas in the basement, the main level, and the upper level. Samples of fire debris were collected and sent to a lab for chemical analysis. Samples showed evidence of the presence of gasoline. And of course, there was evidence of forced entry. So based on the fire investigation, it was quite evident that this was an intentionally set or incendiary fire. Now, within the basement, part of my investigation is that I found there's a lot of fire debris in the basement, and there was a DVR, digital video recorder, that was partially submerged in water. The interesting part is that this DVR was connected to several cameras, and despite the fact that the owner suggested that it was not operational, I decided to secure the DVR and to investigate a little further. Interestingly, the investigation was conducted by the police authorities and the OFM, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, ahead of our attending the site. Based on the fact that they were told that the DVR was not functional, they basically walked away from that, giving me the potential to securing it and to find some pretty interesting information on the video images. So I'm going to run this video, and it'll probably just, I'll let it run through and you can see some of the activities that are going on. So in this screen, you'll see that there's an individual at the front door, and I'll just start running it right now. So you can see someone coming in and out of the house. You can see that he's trying to put his shoulders in. He's kicking at the door. He picks up a brick and tries to smack the door. You'll see that eventually he falls right into the house. So he's creating the conditions to show that the house was forced, the front door was forced open. There you could see that he actually lit a piece of paper and threw the piece of paper into the front door. And I'll just try to push this off. And now the fire department arrives and you can see smoke coming out of the front door of the house. So this was a substantial fire. So it ultimately turns out that the individual in the video images shown trying to break into the house and setting the fire is the son-in-law. We actually reported this information to police. They came and had to secure the video images from us and used it in charging the individual with arson. Okay, we're going to talk about a second case study. So this is an incident of a break and enter in a commercial property. So I'm just going to give you some of the background information relating to this B&E. Again, it's a commercial property. It was reported to the insurance company as a break and enter with items vandalized and product removed or stolen. So the insured statement is that he left the building at the end of a workday on February 16, 2018. Now, he was alone, and he did not arm the alarm system. So he claims that he knew one of his employees and the cleaners were to be in on the weekend. He suggests that he often does not arm the alarm system when he knows that an employee is coming in after hours. All employees and the cleaners have their own alarm code, so we can tell who is disarming or arming the alarm system. Cleaners arrived at the building on February 18th, so 2 days later, and discovered that the business had been robbed and vandalized. The owner also suggests that a rear door panic bar would on occasion not engage or latch shut, and that he says that there's a gap at the top of the door that will allow someone to pry the door open. So again, the question is this information that is being set up to justify that a break-in, whether legitimate or not, had occurred? Okay, so this is that rear door that we talked about. And the one that he says that that panic bar would on occasion not latch and therefore the door wouldn't lock. So this is the inside surface of that door. You can see that that door is got, where my cursor is, it's got a door contact on it. So that formed part of this alarm system. So all doors were contacted and there were motion detectors within the building as well in various specific areas in both the offices and in the warehouse and storage and workshop areas. So one of the things that we needed to confirm is it possible for that door to be open from the outside, given that the panic bar does not latch properly? Are there pry marks that might indicate that someone actually gained entry into the building? So when we looked at that, we saw some scuff marks, but nothing of consequences that would really suggest to us that someone pried the door open. So again, no clear evidence of someone forcing their way into the building. Here's a photograph of some of the equipment that was installed within this commercial property. So you can see that there's graffiti on the equipment inside the building and evidence of the place either being burglarized or a product being removed from the building. So this turned out to be a red flag that the alarm system was not armed on February 16th. I thought it would be essential to corroborate or dispute the information relating to the alarm system being armed or not armed by reviewing and analyzing the alarm system information. So other information that we were able to obtain by speaking to some of the employees is that the alarm system is always armed by the owner when they leave with him at the end of the business day. So when employees are leaving with the owner, they always see him arm the alarm system. It was kind of odd that he didn't on that day. Cleaners also confirmed that the alarm system is typically armed when they arrive to conduct their cleaning duties. However, the cleaner also say that the alarm system was not armed on the day that they discovered the incident. They entered the building and the alarm keypad did not sound to them like it typically would. In other words, it wasn't requesting that they enter an access code. So they did not enter the access code, and walking through this place then realized that the place had been vandalized and burglarized as well. So we decided to conduct an investigation into the alarm system. So we obtained an alarm report from the alarm company. Now it's interesting that there's 3 months of historical alarm system monitoring station reports that we asked for that showed that the alarm system is always armed over a weekend. By the way, it is important to get a few months of records and not just a few days around the day of the incident. So you want to see trends and habits relating to the people using the alarm system. You know, very often, if I'm involved in an alarm investigation, I will get an alarm report that is specific for the day of the incident. And typically that is of no value to me. I mean, it's important to see what happened on that day, but it is even more important to know what typically happens for the alarm system in a time frame that is more than just the day of the incident. I typically at least ask for 3 months worth of historical data. So I'd suggest you do the same. If you can get more, even better. An event buffer download of the alarm panel will corroborate information from the monitoring station report. So an event buffer stores information relating to activities for the alarm system. It is important to corroborate the information within the monitoring station by accessing and analyzing data in the panel with the information transmitted to the monitoring station, especially when there is an issue with communication between phone lines and the cellular service being defeated or interrupted. So when phone lines are cut or communication is defeated, one can usually rely on stored information within the event buffer. It is merely a matter of downloading this information. So as an example, there are many instances where alarm systems are not programmed to transmit when they are armed and when they are disarmed. So a monitoring station will not have that information. So if you're concerned about an alarm system being armed, or you want to know when the alarm system is being armed, or actually who armed the alarm system, then what you need to do is rely on the event buffer. Very important. The event buffer would typically have more information than perhaps the monitoring station might. So what you need to do is rely on both sources of information. I'm going to give you a point of caution. This needs to be done promptly. In other words, if you are going to extract information from the event buffer, you need to be doing it promptly. Otherwise, you risk this critical information being overwritten within the event buffer. So event buffers act as a first in, first out queue. So newer information is stored into the event buffer and older information is thrown out of the event buffer to make way for new information. So again, the quicker you can get access to the event buffer, the better. So in this instance, I was able to test the alarm system and confirm that any entry through one of the exterior doors would result in alarm activation and an annunciation to the monitoring station. So what we actually did is we called the alarm company, we put the alarm system under test, we armed the system several times, and what we did is we simulated entering into the building. We opened out exterior doors, we walked through several areas where it appeared that items were vandalized or items were removed, just to see how the alarm system would act, how it would operate, and if signals were transmitted to the monitoring station. Again, you need to confirm that the alarm system is working as it should. So having tested the alarm system, I was able to confirm that had the alarm system been armed, it would have functioned as intended. In other words, someone gaining access into the building through that one door would have triggered a door contact and would have triggered several motion detectors within the building. The fact that it was not armed is the reason why this incident went unnoticed by the monitoring station. So consideration at that point would be given regarding the coverage based on the fact that the alarm system was not armed at the time. So I just want to emphasize that event buffers will be overwritten as time goes by. So one should quickly request an alarm system event buffer be downloaded as close to the time of the incident as possible, thereby securing important information and evidence. This is usually done by the alarm company. They can facilitate this by doing the download at the premise, hooked up to an alarm panel with a laptop computer, or even download the event buffer through a remote online access feature. So what you would do is make sure that the alarm company is cooperating. One of their technicians would actually attend at the scene. They would hook up a notebook computer to the alarm panel and will be able to facilitate the downloading of the event buffer. Or if the phone lines are still operational in the place, they don't even need to attend. They can actually just call in online and retrieve the information from that event buffer itself. And then what you would do, of course, is compare the information from that event buffer to the information that you get at the monitoring station to make sure that they match. Sometimes you'll get more information from the event buffer, as I said earlier. What else can you do if you're not getting the cooperation of an alarm company? So in many instances, alarm companies, of course, may not cooperate. And so the potential for you to get information from the event buffer by the alarm company technician is limited. So is there anything that we can do to get around that issue? Well, what I would suggest is at that point, to confirm or to make sure that we don't lose any vital information from the event buffer, the alarm panel needs to be powered down. So what I've done in the past is I've gone in and I've removed the alarm panel from the building or from the premise. The alarm panel is then powered down and so therefore non-functional. So what you're doing is you're securing the alarm panel so that it is not in operation and important information within the event buffer is not overwritten. Once secured, the alarm panel can then be powered up at a time when the event buffer download can be facilitated or organized. So there are ways in which these event buffers can be downloaded, but you want to make sure that the information that you're looking for hasn't been overwritten. And the same goes for security cameras and digital video recorders and network video recorders. Video images can be overwritten in time. So acting quickly will preserve important evidence. I was recently talking to someone at Canadian Tire Store who said that video images are only stored for a week. Beyond that, older videos are overwritten. So acting quickly is very critical in preserving information. Open to some questions now.
Great, thank you very much, Mazen. So we'll hop right into the questions. First question, how can CCTVs be used to confirm coverage on a policy? Is it by showing the actual cause of the loss?
Well, that's a good question. It can be used in actually showing the cause of the loss. So in many instances, we use CCTV video footage to confirm, let's say, the cause of a fire. Or perhaps many times we can confirm that entry has been made into the building in the event of a theft. So there are many instances in which confirming that the incident actually did occur is important. And coverage can be based on the fact that these video images show that in fact something did happen at the scene.
Great. Next question, why didn't the police or fire marshal discover the evidence from the front door camera?
Simply because they took the son-in-law's words in that the video cameras were non-functional. I was a little more cynical. I didn't quite believe that that was the case, considering that I did find the DVR under some water in the basement with it plugged in and cables to cameras attached to it. So it was by chance that I thought, you know what, I'm going to check on his information and see if it's true. I was very lucky because actually it was very fruitful to actually see the video images.
And was the insured implicated in the house fire? Yeah, sorry, a question, was it the insured implicated in the house fire involving the son-in-law setting fire?
No, they weren't. So I think it was the son-in-law was charged. I think he was given a year's worth of house arrest, ended up spending time at his mother's home under house arrest. And I'm not sure that there was any relationship between the son-in-law and the family at that point.
Okay. Do you need a written permission from the owner to obtain alarm reports from their alarm company to be compliant with privacy regulations? In that particular case, was he resistant of this process? Any potential, i.e. another potential red flag?
Yeah, actually, anytime you try to obtain information from an alarm company, justifiably, and I think it makes sense, they will not communicate with you unless they have obtained an authorization from their client. So what you typically need to do is think of it in both ways. There's typically an alarm company that installs and maintains equipment in a building, and then there is a monitoring station that actually records all of the information and transactions from an alarm company, from an alarm system, I should say. These two companies may not be the same. So what you would typically do is obtain an authorization that is general to obtain all alarm information. So you're not just looking for an actual monitoring station report, you're also looking for any information relating to, did the insured call the alarm company 2 days before and complain about the alarm system not functional? Or was there information that the insured had called the alarm company and asked for changes to be done to the actual alarm system? Or did he call and say, I don't want you to monitor my armings and disarmings anymore? All those kinds of information will be a red flag if you really consider it.
Great. Next question. Are you able to download the alarm buffer even if the panel is someone else's, such as ADT?
Yes. I mean, generally, there are ways to download the event buffer. The one factor that might be a bit of a challenge is if the alarm system has a password attached to it. So if you don't have access to that password because maybe the insured isn't cooperating, then there is some challenges to actually downloading the event buffer. Similarly, I've had instances where the alarm company is not very cooperative, probably because they're worried about subrogation potentials. They have a master code to the alarm panel, and unless you can get that information, it is difficult to download the event buffer.
Okay. Is there a place to report fraudulent situations still?
I'm not sure I quite understand that question, George.
I understand that ICBP is no more. Is there a place to report fraudulent situations still? So like an insurance industry advocate.
Yeah, I do believe it is. It's not called ICPB anymore. It might be, someone else is going to have to correct me. Perhaps someone that's on the call, one of the adjusters or one of the SIU people. But I think there is an entity for sure.
Okay, great. In case one, was it relevant to your actions that the arsonist, was it relevant to your actions that the arsonist, the son-in-law, was not the one of the named insureds on the policy?
Well, I do know that the claim was covered, and I think it was partly because although he was the son-in-law, he was not a named insured.
Okay. Someone just spoke up and said you usually could report fraud to IBC, and you can do so at ibc.ca. Thank you very much for that.
So I think IBC is the Insurance Bureau of Canada.
Yes. So, okay, next question. What was the motive of the son-in-law to commit the crime?
From what I understood, the motive is that the son-in-law owed a lot of money to due to gambling, and I guess he thought that somehow he will free up some cash with setting fire to his in-laws' place. Obviously, that did not work. Okay. He owed a lot of money to bookies, basically.
So have you ever had any instances where the insured refuses to let you look at the security system?
I have had some difficulties in sometimes convincing people to allow me to get access to their video equipment or video images. A lot of times they will limit which video images I can look at. So perhaps for the date of this incident, and for some reason they don't want me to go to some historical videos, let's say a week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before. So I've had that, but it doesn't happen very often.
Great. Next question. Is there any opportunity to retrieve deleted video?
Unfortunately, it's the opportunity doesn't always present itself for one reason. It is not a question of just the video images are deleted. The problem is because all video equipment has limited capacity or limited space in terms of a hard disk drive. These videos aren't just deleted, but they are actually overwritten. So new video images are overwritten old video images. So once that overwritten video image is basically overwritten, it is no longer there.
Okay. Is it required or a best practice to inquire and confirm with law enforcement if a warrant is required before taking the equipment from the lost premises for further investigation if a criminal act is a highly feasible outcome of the investigation? That's a cool question.
Yeah, I think on the private sector side, so on the insurance side, I think we just obtain an authorization to enter and conduct an investigation and to remove evidence. On the public side, they might need a warrant, but on the private side, it's not something that we require.
Great. Are you aware of avenues to secure event buffer from an alarm panel that is not monitored?
Absolutely. Yeah, so good question. Not every alarm system is monitored. So there are alarm systems that are local only. And there is no difference really. The event buffer is the event buffer. So getting access to the event buffer is simply a question of asking the alarm company to send a technician to use a notebook computer, hook up to the panel itself and download the event buffer and other alarm information. Or again, if that's not possible, then it's a question of securing the alarm panel so that some of that information isn't overwritten and making arrangements for the download to occur at a different time.
Great. Are you connecting to the panel with a hard connection, and is it just a standard USB type connection?
Yes, I mean, if you've got a notebook computer, you need specialty software. So as you can imagine, every alarm panel is manufactured by a different manufacturer. There are different models. They all act differently. They all need different software. And it typically is just hooking it up using either a serial port, a serial cable, or a USB cable.
Great. Were they successful in subrogating from the son-in-law?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. In the event where you feel it is absolutely necessary to protect the event buffer by removing or securing the physical alarm panel, are you allowed to remove the alarm panel, thus rendering the alarm system disabled? Will the alarm company simply provide a replacement alarm panel while the investigation is ongoing?
Absolutely. I mean, typically we would not secure an alarm panel unless there's an alarm panel that's put it in its place to maintain the security for a building. So a lot of times what we do is if the building, for example, if it's sustained a break and enter and the building needs to be secured, then we would replace it with a new alarm panel. If this is an instance of a fire incident, the building isn't going to be secured because of the fire damage, then it's just a matter of removing the panel and securing it that way. No replacement is required.
Great, thank you. So thank you so much, Mazen. Just wanted to thank you all for joining us. Any questions that have been submitted that have not been responded to, we promise to get back to you privately in a quick email in the days to come.